Guys, so this is how I passed my phase one of the 50K account that I have with Skill Funded Trader. So I'm going to go through where I left off on my previous way of trading. So I was actually in drawdown 4% on the previous way I was trading, my previous system, which basically had 0 data points, proving basically nothing. Because at the end of the day, you need your data points. You need your data points to rely upon. You need to know, basically your losing streaks, your winning streaks, your average RR, all of this stuff. So this is what your data is going to show you. Now, when I was in 4% drawdown, the reason why I got there was I basically had 0 data points. So I was basically mindlessly taking trades, and I was making excuses saying like, oh yeah, well, basically, oh, this was just a losing period that I was in, when in reality, I had no idea if I was in a losing period or if I had any edge. I could have, for all we know, been in a complete break-even standpoint, but there's me losing money. And then when a winning, streak comes along, I'm only just up to break even. And these are the little things that make all the difference. So that was the quick intro into where I left off with the, so I picked up the minus 4% drawdown in that account, and I started, I changed it. So I refined my edge. So how I did this was I went back to the drawing board and I collected data in a modular way. So what I mean by this is I took a very simple principle, such as ranges or sessions, and you can do the same. And I picked one time frame, and I basically said, okay, how often does, let's say, breakouts occur and hit, I don't know, the daily high after a breakout of a certain range? How many times does that happen over, like, every single day, over all the weeks, over all the years? So I started with that principle, and then I started to refine. So I refined that principle. I refined what time frame was best for this. How many times did it happen? Was a break of structure better to include? Was a better time frame better to include? Was a different pair better to include? Was smart money divergence good to include? All of these things, like all of these little things, you have to add in and then see if it makes a difference, and then take out if they make the strategy worse. Other things you add in and you keep because it's, it improves your strategy, improves your edge ever so slightly. At the end of the day, you're trying to look for these slight improvements that overall give you a slight percentage increase in your system. So this led me down the road of systemized trading, which is very evident. And then what I did from there is, so I had like a way of trading, and then I found, like, I figured out, I looked through my good trades, which were all the same. I looked through my bad trades, which you end up seeing is like some of your bad trades, which are the ones that obviously end up being, full losses, and try and see if you can find like a pattern in the ones that take full losses. And that's what I did. So I started to weed out all the really bad trades. And then that started to also increase my profitability. So that was the refinement period that I went through. And once I'd done all of this, I recommend doing at least 3 years of data. So at least 3 years of data. So you can't have like, there's a year of COVID or whatever like that, and it's just like the markets ranged this year, and then all the markets were trending this year and stuff like that. So a good average is to be at least 3 years. Obviously, after that, the more years, the better, because you get it more refined and you get a better average. So then all that was left to do was to execute. So I had my proven data points backed over at least 3 years, like I said. So I have near on 4 years at this moment in time, but that's a continuous process that, every weekend I backtest a little bit more. Every day I backtest a little bit more. Then the execution of the light trades that you take, you can put that into your data points as well. So all the time you're gathering more and more data, more and more, and it's becoming more and more refined. It's, you're becoming more precise with your averages. And that also gives you a lot of confidence. So this then helps you with a set of rules, because if you know your averages, you have confidence. If you have confidence, then you know that you can stick to your plan. If you can stick to your plan, you're going to have set rules. And I don't know, if you can't stick to that, then what's the point of you even trying to trade? Because that's like one minuscule part of a huge overall bigger view. We're all in this game to try and make some money, make some online money, etc., etc. If we can't stick to a plan that we create for ourselves, then what chance have you got? So that's basically about it. Here's my certificate on passing phase one. Obviously, it's only phase one. I still need to go through phase two. However, as you can see on this and the 2 grand trade here, I think it was a bit more. I think I just took a screenshot random willy-nilly. I think this was the one that actually ended up passing my phase one. But as you can see, my balance was, you know, I was down at least just over 1%. So I was still in drawdown. However, this was when I was building it up from the -4% drawdown. And yeah, so this was the trade that then, you know, bought it all back in. I think I was one more trade after this to actually go and pass it. So that's about sticking with my plan, being consistent, executing on my rules, and that's all you have in trading. So then here's the examples. As you can see, if you can really get, like, I use 1 or 2 pip buffers all the time. So these are not including 1 or 2 pip buffers. But as you can see, you can get some really big trades. You get some trades where, you know, you have to manage your risk, and then you get some trades where it just fly, and, you know, you don't really have to worry about it that much. So these are the few examples on how my trading's changed ever so slightly. This is kind of how I trade right now. I go through a few more protocols to get, you know, better entries now and then. However, that's yet to be proven with loaded back testing points. So once again, every single point when you come to refinement, every point that you want to add on, you have to retest it for the whole, you know, 3 years at least. You have to go and retest it, see if it works. If it doesn't, chuck it out. If it does, keep it in, add it all together. That's your plan. And that's about it for today, boys. So see you in the next one.